I don't think so, and part of the reason is that in the case of Apple and in crossing that threshold, I think that there was some very solid valuation based, and a big part of the topic today is this overvalued? And I don't think that it was as clear or was as broad of a sentiment regarding Apple, which kind of continued to propel it higher. So I don't see these two playing out. If you're going to ask me to make my bet of which between Apple and Amazon over the next 6 months to a year outperforms, I clearly think Apple is going to outperform Amazon despite its recent surge and all the good things that Amazon is doing to try to capture new markets. I still think that this is going to be relatively short-lived, if you will.
So, Gene, does that mean that Amazon is overvalued?
I think it depends on what your time horizon is. I think if you take a 3 to 5 year approach, I don't think it's overvalued. But I think if you take a 1 year approach here, I think that it is overvalued. And I think that, again, it's all about the timing of it. In other words, I think that the risk reward here is just more favorable in some other names, despite all the great things that Amazon's doing.
Gene, how solid do you think the footing is underneath so many of these large tech stocks? We're talking Apple and Amazon because they both at least touched that $1 trillion market cap threshold, but Microsoft, Alphabet, also above 800 million. They've all had really big moves. We tend, after a while, if stocks stay at a point for a decent amount of time, to compare them to one another and say, this one is a good buy versus that one. Maybe none of them are good buys. Remember when we were talking about high valuations months ago? Maybe they're all too high. Where do you come down on, not relative to each other, but just in general, are these stocks too expensive?
I think you got to look at them on a case-by-case basis, and I think in the case of something like Apple or Google, I think that they have such massive opportunities that they could go after, whether it's the future of driving and autonomy around that can really change the world. I think that those type of scenarios are not overvalued. I think on the other end, when you think about the near term around Amazon and some of these other names, the simple question to ask yourself is, are they getting into new markets that are going to be disruptive and could fundamentally change the business model? And you can build that argument with Amazon. I want to just take a quick sidebar here and just say I can't say enough good things about Mark. I've competed head-to-head with him for many years and respect his work immensely, but I'm in a different position in terms of where he's at with Facebook, for example. And I think that that's an example of a great story, but doesn't have these massive markets that they can capture in the future that can change the world.
Gene, we're sort of more broadly looking at the market where we seem to be living in this age of deconglomeratization, where all of these companies, whether it's in industrials, whether it's in some of the consumer stocks, where they're looking to pare down, streamline, and sort of more pure play their businesses right now to realize greater value. On the flip side, you have Amazon here crossing that $1 trillion market cap threshold, and they've got so many octopus arms in so many different businesses. Does it make sense for them to continue to build out all of these different revenue streams right now, or will the time come where they decide to spin some of them off?
I think it makes sense for them to keep doing it. I mean, that's the reason why we're at this $1 trillion point with Amazon, is the fact that they have given investors confidence that they can go and disrupt markets just like they've done around retail. And so I'm still a believer that they should keep doing these kind of one-off projects, if you will, and see where they go. I'm still a believer. We're going to be wrong on Amazon buying Target in 2018. Every day that probability goes down by 0.3%. But I think we're going to be right about some of the things that they're going to do in retail more broadly, and think that they will eventually buy Target and take a bite out of what will be a huge part of offline. We don't talk a lot about that. So I think it's important that Amazon, like the Go store, and how that can potentially change how we do our brick and mortar. And think of it in the future, it's still going to be a huge piece, almost 50% of what's going to be bought.